Welcome to this week's America with an Accent. Almost 4,000 lost boys of South Sudan found a new home in America. Nebraska has the biggest Sudanese refugee community in the country. Abraham Mangar, a lost boy now of Omaha, is a truck driver, goes to college, and wrote a book with help from his American friend and refugee supporter Jim Thompson, also of Omaha. What does Abraham think about his second chance to life? How has he and his community used the opportunity? What are some of the challenges they face today? This is the journey of Abraham, who learned his ABCs writing in the dirt, and today is a book author. Lost Boy, No More. I'm here with Abraham Mangar, a lost boy from South Sudan who moved to the United States in 2001 through Lutheran Family Service. Abraham is married, has 3 kids, works as a truck driver, and is a book author as well. I also am joined today by Jim Thompson of Omaha, Director of Projects for the IULA Community Development Association, a nonprofit organization. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's start with you, Abraham. You are part of the Lost Boys of South Sudan. Can you tell us how old were you when you were taken away from your family?
I was 7 years old.
It was 1987. Abraham never saw his parents again. A younger brother was left behind with family, but Abraham and his older brother spent 14 years as lost boys in camps in South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Kenya.
No, I did not. My father died in actually he was killed in 1991. My mom died in 1993.
Your dad was killed in the Boer massacre, the massacre of Boer?
Yes.
Okay. How about your mom?
Well, after that, after the Moscow Boer, a lot of diseases break out in 1993. That's what I heard. And a lot of people died from there, and that's when my mom died. My younger brother, he's right now in Kenya. He's doing some nursing classes. And my older brother is in Juba, South Sudan, with his family.
Okay. I read your book, the book that is called My Life Under the Trees, and it tells Abraham's story from the first day that he was taken from his family till he made it to the United States. At the end, at the very last page of your book, there is a map that you drew, the map of the distances that you have walked as part of the Lost Boys. Can you tell us a little bit, where did you start? So this is where you're from, Boer, is that right?
Yes.
You can use this one.
We start from here, walk all the way. This was put walking all the way down here. But when we came here, okay?
Akelo.
Akelo. We ran out of water. We walk for, we ran out, we walk from noon until like 7 o'clock at night. We kind of got muddy water. It was thought of pudding, We didn't care, just look like water, and this is a place that we almost die of thirsty. I mean, we didn't have water in this special place, and we walked from there. We came to Ethiopia, walk here, and then here. This is Gilo right here, and this river. You can see the river right here. This is River Gilo, and that's where we lost a lot of boys when we were crossing the river. Then we came here. When we came to Pechala, this is Pechala. In 1991, this is where we almost die of hunger. This is where you gotta eat whatever you find. And we walk all the way here. It was a long walk from here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I tried to figure out the distance that you have walked. I was able to find the distance from Boer to Pibor, if I'm not wrong. It's around 124 miles. I couldn't get the distances for what you have pinpoint on the map. I also found this distance here. Approximately how many miles have you walked?
Well, it's hard to tell because most of these areas are remote. And if you can see from here to here, it's 100 and something miles. So what about from here to here? You know, we walk thousands of miles.
Thousands
of miles.
And do you know how many days did you actually walk?
It took us from here. We left in this area. We left in Pachala here all the way here. It took us about 2.5 months.
2.5 months.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's just walking. There was no break. And from here to here, it took us from Bor all the way to Peñado, took us 3 weeks.
Okay, that's a long distance to walk. I was surprised to read about your story, and I have picked a few quotes, and I would like to start with a quote regarding food and nutrition. At one point when you were at camp, you say, by now, life had come to the choice of eating whatever you could find and making it to the next day or dying of hunger. I was really surprised as well that in the book, you remembered the time when you ate meat. What did you eat during those years?
Well, when we were separated with our parents, we went straight to the camp. In that camp, there was no meat. It was hard to find meat. So the only meat that we get was like during Christmas. SPLM, the Southern Sudanese movement, at that time, they give us like about 1,000 boys per bull, to celebrate Christmas. And so that was the only time that we can get a meat. And when we came to Pachala, when we were pushed out of Ethiopia to come to Pachala, so that's when that's when we tried everything. There was no UN. We didn't have anything to eat, so we just try whatever we see eatable, leaves. We don't care what kind of leaf it is. Either is it poisonous, so we'll try and find out when we eat it. If it's not good, don't try it next day. If it's good, go for it. And that's when I say it was matter of life. Either you eat it or you die, because there was nothing else.
How about your health? How was your health? At one point, you've described that you suffer from nighttime blindness. Why did that happen?
Well, I got suffered from night blindness, and I think night blindness was a lack of vitamin A. It might be something else, but after I found it out, it was lack of vitamin A. But that's because there was no enough food. There was no food at all, and because of that, I think my body didn't have enough vitamin A. So I got night blindness. I can't see at all. Like when it gets dark, that's it for me. My vision becomes zero. But during the day, I can see, my vision just go back 20/20. So, but when we left Pachala, we came walking until we came to other place called Pakuk. We were given vitamin C. It was just random. Everybody was given vitamin C. I don't know why, but I took mine. That night, I see clearly. Then when I came to Kenya, it came back again. My vision went back to zero. So now I knew it was something curable. So I went to the doctor and I got vitamin A, and it's cured. From that time, it never came back.
When they took you away from family, I'm approaching this whole thing now from a mother's point of view. What did they tell your family you were going to do?
Well,
when they took you away from your family?
When they took us away from our families, we were told that, your kids are going to school. And they say, the school is already prepared, and the school are built, everything is prepared, nothing will happen to your kids. So that's why parents give up on us for the sake to go to school. And when we went there, from the first day we went there, it was a shock. There was nothing there. So every client was shown that go and clean that tree, that's where you're going to live. And that's where the title came from, My Life Under the Trees. So when some of the boys saw that the school that we were promised to come to is not there, there was nothing there. So, and that gave a lot of boys homesickness. And a lot of us died from that. That was, from that first year, we lost a lot of lives.
So Abraham, when they took you away from your families, the promise is that you would be going to school.
Yes.
And when you went there at the camp, there were no shelters, there were no classrooms, you lived under the trees, and of course there is no teachers or lessons. Now, later, you finally started to have some lessons.
Yes.
And receive some schooling. And I would like to read a very short passage from your book.
Okay.
We all sat in a circle with the teacher in the middle dictating everything to us. The biggest disadvantage to writing on the dirt was that we never had a permanent paper to show the results. The teachers would walk around the circle where we sat to check our answers, and then we just wiped them off.
Yes.
Now, I would like you to show us how were you taught. We don't have dirt here, but we have prepared we're using a tray and a kinetic sand because I would like you to show everybody how were you taught. What did you use in order to gain knowledge? So let's say the professor told you at one point in the book, 4 + 2 = 6. How would you write that?
We write 4. You gotta write, dig in the dirt so the teacher can see it. 4 + 2 is equal 6. Then you put 2 lines there, and then the teacher will come and see. If you got it wrong, if you got it right, they will just put a tick mark. If you got it wrong, they will say that's wrong. And that's how we used to do it.
How about language? Can you write the word, your name, for example, Abraham? Show me how did you do that?
Well,
because writing numbers, it's a little easier than writing the letters, I would say.
Well, back then we just used like, okay, write your name, Abraham. Then I write my name.
All right.
But back then we used to play a game on the dirt. Like, you sit in the circle, like 5 of you. Then I will start with a letter. Let's say I will start with B. Then you go, you put an O. Next person will think, okay, what letter can go there? They might put an X, say box, and then they pronounce it. If you don't know, you put a question there, and then the next person, it will come back to me, and I will put either Y or X. That's the game we used to play, because we didn't have toys.
You didn't have. And then you would just wipe it off,
and then
right?
we level it off. That's it. And that's the end of our learning.
All right.
Yeah.
And then in 2000, this is how you learn how to write and read?
Yes.
And how many years of education did you have in?
Well, we have like 40. We started in 1988. So we have 3 years of education.
3 years of education. Yes. And then in 2001, you came to the United States. You entered USA.
Yes.
And one of the persons that has been very close to you has been Jim Thompson of Omaha. Jim, how do you know Abraham? And I know that you're very much involved with the South Sudanese community. How do you get to know them?
Well,
how did you get to know them?
It's networking. It's once the whole thing works on a pyramid, You know, once you start off, the association with other individuals grows. And Abraham was, when he came to Omaha, he was with a different group that I was not familiar with, but there was an individual who took it upon himself to help Abraham and the group that Abraham came with. And I bumped into him in an apartment once where there was a bunch of South Sudanese, and we became acquaintances. And at that time, he said to me, sometime later after that, you know, I've got a young man here that is driving for Werner Trucking, and he's not really crazy about it. You know, he'd like to get off the road. Is there a way, could you find him a job at Builder Supply Company? And that's where I was working at. So I said, well, I'll give it a try and see. So I asked, and sure enough, they hired Abraham. And so then we became pretty good friends. So that's before Abraham was married, before he'd been to South Sudan and gotten married. And so, and I knew his story, and he embellished it more as the more we talked. And so then I said, you know, you've got a really interesting story. I said, everybody in the world has a story to tell, but they're not interesting, but your story is really interesting. You should really put this down, write this as a book. And then he said, well, Jim, if you help me, I'll write the book.
And that forged even more the
right. So he would come over to my house. He'd write during maybe, you know, when he had time, and then maybe twice a week or 3 times a week, he'd come over to my house and I'd rough edit it for him. And the rest
today we have the book.
The way we have the rest is history.
How many times have you been to South Sudan, Jim?
6 or 7. I forgot, kind of lost track.
Why are you doing this? What is the purpose? What is your calling? Why are you so involved?
Well, I think the Holy Spirit is not an equal opportunity employer, and when you're touched, you really haven't got a choice as to whether you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. You do it, and don't worry about it. And that's kind of the feeling I have about the whole situation.
Did you ever receive comments from people that didn't support your cause, didn't support your involvement?
Not to my face. I'm sure there's probably been people say, what in the world is this guy doing, you know? And, but no, and I understand that, you know, everybody has things that they're interested in, involved in, and there are probably things that I would not be involved in or interested in, but no, the short answer to your question is no, never had a problem with that. And
what's next for you? Are you continuing to be doing what you're doing?
I have no idea. I'm along for the ride. Right. I just go at wherever it takes me. Don't think about it or plan for it or anything like that at all.
Okay. Abraham, I would like to go back to the moment when you came to the United States. You come from being in camps for 14 years, and you come to the United States. What is your first impression, especially with the availability of things?
Well, it was a moment of, you know, doing something for yourself, because when we were in the camp, there was nothing. There's nothing you can do. It's to go to school, and that's it. But when we came here, you know, I found my first job at Burger Mercy. I enjoyed that, and then right after that, I bought a car, and that was my toy. I drive around the town. I get lost, you know, get myself to where I went. It was a good time.
It was a good time, right? What do you think about using the opportunity, using the chance of coming to the United States? Do you think you have made a good use of that opportunity?
I would say yes. You know, right now I'm trying everything that I want to do. My mind is just like, okay, let me try this. You know, coming to the United States, I think it's a good thing for me. Now, I don't think if I would have never came to the United States, I would have not been an author of the book. You see, that's one thing. You know, right now, I established myself, and of course, with the help of Jim. And I'm working. I got a family. Nothing else I could ask for. I'm keeping improving my life as long as I can.
You're going to school as well?
I'm going to school. I'm going to UNO. I love it.
Yes. What is your major?
Finance. It's fun, but it's hard.
Oh. What's your opinion on your community? Have they used the opportunity to the fullest?
Well, it's up to individual because people are different. People were born in different days. They are doing different things at different time. Some people are using the opportunity the fullest. Some people would say they're not. But
all right.
That's how the life is.
Yes, that's
Judge
right.
W. Bush said one time, you know what, you came here, but you know what, there's no way. You guys will have the same economic success. Some of you will succeed, some of you will not. And that's how it is, you know, that's how it is in this world. Some will succeed, some will not.
And Jim, you have been involved with refugees and helping refugees for a long time. Is there a mistake that you have encountered them doing the most, a mistake that they have made the most? And if there is any advice, what to do once they land in the United States, what would that advice be?
Well, be proficient in English as quickly as you can. The language of success is English, and you have to be really proficient at it in order to expect to succeed, I think. Don't send money back to South Sudan. So many of the families, for cultural reasons, are just send every dime that they have extra left over to South Sudan. So don't make that mistake. Show up on time for meetings and don't talk too much or too long. Sure and change the oil in the engine. Watch your water levels. Go to church.
And that's
it.
That's it. And before I wrap up the interview, I have two questions, one for you, Abraham, and one for you, Jim. What do you make out of this whole story of your life? What is the lesson that you have learned?
Well, the lesson that I have learned is work hard and everything will come easy. Like when I was in the camp, life in the camp wasn't that, you know, it was hard in the camp. The life wasn't really easy. But when there was a photo right here. This photo, that's me in my garden. That photo was taken in 1999. This garden was a small garden. It gave me like, when I sell it, it gave me like $1 something. You know, that was $100 Kenya shilling. But it was a lot for me. I bought some clothes, some books, some everything. So it was supporting my life. And every time I look at that picture, you know, thing is work hard and you will get whatever you want.
All right. And you, Jim, what have you gained from this experience working with refugees?
Well, insight, I think, probably is one of the most interesting things. I think to myself, you know, look what Africa's lost when they lost the lost boys and their families. Look what they're producing for America. They would never have been able to do that in Africa. They would have produced nothing because the society is structured so that the chances to succeed just are small or none. And so when you think about the abilities of the people to accomplish things, you don't have to look any further than yourself to see that. You see what the country allows people from all over the world to do. You just have to, and when you talk about resources and how the United States or the West takes resources from around the world, well, the best resource is a human being, and that they are the ones that produce things, and they are the ones that create things. And Abraham is a classic example of that. Multiply his situation times 10,000 or 20,000, and look at what we've gained and what Africa's lost. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck with your studies.
Thank you.
And now, letters to Andy. Dear Andy, greetings from Omaha. This week I met Abraham Mangar, a lost boy from South Sudan who wrote a book, My Life Under the Trees. He lived in refugee camps for 14 years and is now in town. Abraham's story as a lost boy is sad to read. He was only 7 the last time he saw his parents, walked on end, never had enough food or clothes, yet Abraham learned how to read and write in the most unimaginable way, writing letters in the dirt. My story growing up in a poor communist country pales in comparison with his story. Abraham's journey sent me for a guilt trip. Started with myself. Felt guilty for the extra stuff that I have at home but never gets used. Guilty for having a robot clean my house because I'm lazy to hold the stick of a vacuum cleaner. Guilty for the amount of complaint I produce and I hear around. Abraham lived under a tree. That's all. Then it was my kid's turn. Without a reason, and I am a typical mother, good at making my kids feel guilty. Imagine after reading Abraham's book, Daily Double. Need to finish all your food. Many kids go hungry each day. Don't want to go to piano. Many kids dream about the privilege. And the bomb. Want a second Xbox because my 2 kids can take turns playing Fortnite. Of course, they're not getting a second one. I don't even like they have one. But after being harsh on them, it occurred to me that we have different reference systems. I compare my todays with my poor yesterdays. What Abraham went through was not normal. My children don't know that and hopefully never have to. I am glad that's the case. I don't want them to have to live differently so they understand the suffering. But I want them to appreciate the privileges of their American life, acknowledge others' challenges, and do their part to improve life. Even then, I'll still be there, providing my dose of guilt. Till next time, Andy and Kayla. I hope to see you again next week. Thank you for watching. I am Kayla Vebio.